Erica LaRae Williams, 52, the mother of Essa Williams. Essa Williams is the man accused of shooting Officer Tyler Moldovan. She helped buy him a gun after he'd been in prison for violent crimes. She purchased a firearm, a Taurus G3, and said it was for her, but it was actually for him. Pursuant to a federal search warrant, the ATF seized and searched Miss Williams' cellular telephone, revealed a lengthy text exchange with Essa Williams during the purchase of the Taurus G3 pistol. There are things that are going to work and things that aren't. The most frustrating thing about the debate for me is breaking down all the walls that we have built up around each other for a very long time. The idea that because I am an advocate for the Second Amendment, I'm a fierce defender of the Second Amendment, means that I care less than you do about dead children or dead people, mass shootings, is a false narrative that we have to stop from the very beginning of accusing me of that. That's absolutely not the truth. And my need to defend myself on the issue takes away from getting to any kind of solution. We may end up disagreeing on what solutions might be, but the idea in your mind that you care more than I do is a false narrative. The gun control argument in this country is born of good intentions and ignorance. That's just, for the most part, factual. It is the one area where most of the people that are most adamantly against guns are the people that know the least about them. The ones that are in favor of stricter laws are the ones that have the least knowledge about the actual laws. The people that hate the NRA because they're a lobbying organization for the Second Amendment, that don't understand that the biggest safety advocacy group when it comes to firearms is the NRA. The training that they give people, the safety training that is the NRA standard, those are the things of ignorance. Now, do we want to go through life trying to educate each other? No, it's not about the education part of it. What it is about, though, is practical ways to fix things. You have a young man who had been in prison for violent crimes at a relatively young age. And then he gets out of prison and his mother supplies him with firearms. Now, here's the scary part of this. This was not the gun that was used to shoot Officer Moldovan, which means other people had gotten firearms for this guy. I believe somebody else has been arrested for bringing firearms or getting firearms for this young man. Officer Moldovan didn't even have time to draw his service weapon. Now, there's an argument to be made about officer safety and our officers more worried about getting in trouble because they pull their firearms. All that is a whole bunch of arguments that are kind of clouding the issue, and it's for a different day. Right now, let's stick to the facts. Officer Tyler Moldovan, along with other Phoenix police officers, were looking for a guy doing burnouts near an apartment complex. This guy was kind of hiding in the shadows. Officer Moldovan confronted him and, for whatever reason, didn't feel a need to pull his firearm. This suspect did pull a firearm, and I'm going to give you some details that are horrifying. But this person emptied the magazine into this police officer. The first shot disabled Officer Moldovan, and this suspect continued to fire. This is all revealed in the body cam video, which I've never seen. It's been described to me, that Officer Moldovan was wearing. The suspect then tried to retrieve the firearm that Officer Moldovan was carrying in his holster in order to either continue to shoot that officer or defend himself against the officers that were coming to Officer Moldovan's aid. He was unable to get the gun out of the holster. He took off running. They caught him and they arrested him. By most accounts, people thought that Officer Moldovan was not going to survive his injuries. He miraculously has not only survived his injuries, he's on the road to recovery and has recovered further than anybody expected he would, except for his family, who believed in prayer and believed in faith and have believed in love, and they've been with him every step of the way. I was at an event with him recently with him and his wife. They are amazing people. If we are going to stop violent criminals from committing violent crimes, you don't take guns away from innocent people in order to do that. You don't defund a police department. That is another argument here. The defund the police movement, you do exactly the opposite. You need more officers in neighborhoods that are able to meet the people. If an officer is answering, let's just go with, I've been talking Phoenix PD, and I apologize to other agencies. This goes for any agency in the Valley. If you only have enough officers to field requests for service, you're answering 911 calls or priority 1 calls all day, sometimes priority 2, you are not proactive in policing. You aren't learning the neighborhoods that you're in. You're not learning the people in those neighborhoods. You're not developing relationships. You're not doing any of those things that the defund the police movement think the police should be doing. Having less police officers certainly doesn't make that happen either. And having a bunch of social workers instead of cops doesn't work. I would say adding social workers to cops is a good thing. Mental health calls that officers are not equipped for, great. But you need more cops. You need police officers that have time during their shift to develop a rapport and relationships with kids in neighborhoods. Develop a trust and a rapport so when a crime happens, residents in that neighborhood feel comfortable that they can tell the cops what's going on. They can be a part of crime fighting in their neighborhoods. That when a crime occurs, more than one cop shows up that has to defend him or herself with lethal force because they're the only officer on the scene. Multiple cops with multiple options, and usually there is strength in numbers, and a suspect, unless they're high or out of control, usually isn't going to fight when they're outnumbered. So it decreases the chance for violence. There's nothing that I say that is radical in its saying. Nothing. And when you see this mother that bought a gun for her son, 10 months in prison doesn't seem like that long since her son almost murdered a police officer. If we are going to send a message as a society, if we are going to send a message, that message has to be that police officers, if you are someone that is a prohibited possessor and you're near a gun, you're going to be arrested and you are going to be prosecuted and you are going to be sentenced to severe sentences. She didn't pull the trigger. She didn't shoot anybody, but she facilitated it. She went around the system. The system worked. She had no record. She swore and affirmed that she was the purchaser of this firearm for her own use. The system worked. She lied. She pays the price. And I think this is an important lesson for everyone to learn, and this is a message that everyone should be sending.